What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel we're going to be checking out a really sweet guitar. This guitar here is not your ordinary Fender Mexican Strat here. It looks like one from far away, but up close we got an Evertune bridge, and this is actually a baritone neck. You might have seen this guitar before, and this guitar belongs to my good buddy Andrew Bana. And if you know Andrew Bana, he is a master of all things tuned down and extended in range, and this is no different. The thing is that Andrew wants to take this guitar on tour with his band Carcosa and use it as like a backup guitar. And really, you're not going to be using single coils and, like a typical Fender Strat to play breakdowns, and especially when you're tuning down to like drop E, which is where he tunes down to. So we're going to overhaul this thing. I got a brand new set of electronics that we're going to throw in this guitar. We're going to string this up with some crazy string gauges, and yeah, I think this thing is going to be a real ripper. And this is to kind of prove a point in some way, in the fact that, like, if you just want to play super heavy riffs and occasionally get up to the higher strings, that maybe you don't need an 8-string. There's nothing wrong if you want to buy an 8-string, but some people just like the feel of a 6-string and they just want to tune lower, and that's what we're going to do here. So with all that being said, let's throw this thing on the bench and let's dial it in. And here we have the Fender Mexican Strat all done up here. And once again, this is a baritone. This is heavily modified. We're going to learn about that in a little bit more detail, but just to go over real quick what we did here, we set the Evertune up, we got new strings on it, we tuned this thing all the way down. We then had to put some new electronics in here. We got a new humbucker in the bridge, new wiring configuration down here. Had to drill out the tuner to fit this giant 80 gauge string. Again, very easy to do. A little bit of foam behind the nut just to take care of that sympathetic vibration. And that is pretty much it. This guitar did not need a lot in terms of an upgrade. And now just looking at this thing all said and done here, like, I'm pretty excited to plug this thing in later on and just kind of see what this thing's all about, because I feel like I have some high hopes for this guitar in terms of like the sound and the tonal options given of what we had here in terms of electronics, and the fact that it's a baritone. It's kind of like this weird like juxtaposition of like old school and new school together. Like, it's right up my alley in all honesty, and yeah, I'm really excited to plug it in. Before we do that, we need to learn a little bit more about this guitar and some specs and features. Alright, so this guitar started life as a regular off-the-shelf made in Mexico Fender Strat. And as you can see here, and as I've outlined a little bit earlier, this guitar has went through a lot of upgrades. But if we were talking about this as a regular off-the-shelf guitar, alder body, we would have had 3 single coils and the regular Fender electronics in this guitar. We would have then had a maple neck with either a maple or a rosewood or maybe a Pau Ferro fretboard, 25.5-inch scale, and obviously some regular Fender tuners, like a very, very basic Fender Stratocaster there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as these Fender Stratocasters have lent themselves over the years to being wicked mod platforms, that lends very true here as well. If you've been following this guitar on Andrew Bana's channel, you would know that he got this from Sweetwater, and they did a ton of upgrades to the guitar. So they threw on the Evertune bridge. They do that in-house, so if you are looking to buy a guitar from them, they can do that as well, which is a pretty sweet thing. They then threw on this Fender baritone neck. This is a 27-inch scale length that just bolts right into the regular Fender neck pocket here. And this is a made in Mexico baritone neck, and I know I have talked sort of hit and miss about the quality control on the made in Mexico factory, but I will say the fret edges on this guitar here and the neck and like overall feel and fit and finish, it feels really good. It's a 9.5-inch radius, it's a modern C-shaped feel, and this honestly feels good. There's no sharp fret edges, there's no tall frets like I've experienced on a lot of made in Mexico guitars in the past. So this is a really nice example of what the Fender Mexican shop can do. We have the regular Fender tuners up here. I mean, I would prefer if these were locking tuners. That's just my thing. Even though this has the Evertune bridge, it just makes changing strings way easier. We then have a custom set of electronics here. We got a 5-way pickup selector. I then got rid of one of the tones, and then I just have a 1 volume, 1 tone configuration here. We have 2 custom wound single coil pickups from Seymour Duncan. Andrew won a full set of Seymour Duncan pickups from, I think, a Sweetwater event a little while back. So they sent him that pickguard fully loaded, ready to go for that guitar when he got this guitar initially. But then, since he wanted to make this thing a chug machine, he then said, hey, I want a humbucker in the guitar. So this is a custom Seymour Duncan humbucker. It's essentially a blend of a Pegasus and a Nazgul, which are some of Andrew's favorite pickups from Seymour Duncan, wrapped into one here. Real quick on the specs on this thing, it's around 15K in terms of output resistance, and it's dual ceramic magnets here. I have not played the Pegasus and the Nazgul in a great amount of depth, just kind of like in short demos like this, so I don't have a ton of experience with them, but every time I have played either pickups, they have sounded pretty great, and there's nothing negative to write home about it. So I'm pretty excited to try this whole wiring configuration here, just because we got the heavy rhythms down here, and then I think we might have some pretty cool lead and clean tones down here as well as splitting the bridge. So this might be a pretty sweet machine if you are thinking about doing this to your Fender Stratocaster. Last but not least, this guitar has basically an 8-string set of strings tuned all the way down to drop E. So we got E, B, E, A, D, and G all the way like a regular 8-string minus the 2 high strings. And everything's going to be staying in tune with that Evertune bridge. And yeah, the only other thing I had to really do with this guitar is kind of route out the pickguard just so it could fit around the Evertune here, because this is a brand new pickguard. And I'm pretty sure Sweetwater would have done that right from the factory if this guitar came like this right from Sweetwater, which is again something that you can do. No sponsor, no affiliation, but I think it's a really cool service that they offer as well. But yeah, this turned out really sweet. I'm really happy with what we've done here, and this is all pretty easy things that you can do as well, because these Fender guitars are pretty modular. If you want to learn more, especially about setting up an Evertune or wiring pickups, I'm going to link to a playlist right now where you can check it out. So with all that being said, we are going to plug this thing in, and we're going to hear how this thing sounds on its own. Alright, so now at the end of the day, what do I think about this insane guitar here? Personally, this is right up my alley. I mean, this is a baritone guitar with an Evertune, crazy high output pickup in the bridge, and it looks like, you know, like your dad or your grandpa's guitar in some way, shape, and form, but it's kind of a sleeper, which is something I can really get behind here. I really like it. The neck feels really good. It's very comfy. Even the upper fret axis with that big old blocky Fender bolt-on heel here, it feels pretty good up here. I mean, you're not really going to be soloing on the guitar like this or on a guitar like this just for how it is set up. That's for a different time. But in terms of like the tuning stability, it's obviously great because of the Evertune. The fit and finish of this neck is really good as well. There's no sharp frets, there's no tall frets as well. This feels really good. It's very solid. I would prefer if this guitar had locking tuners, but that is a very easy mod that you can do later on. The electronics sound really great on this guitar. This custom wound pickup sounds really sweet. Kind of reminds me of a bare knuckle Aftermath in some way, just from my own experience with that pickup. The neck and the middle pickup here sound really good here. My only complaint is that they are not the hottest pickup in terms of comparing it to a bridge pickup that is this hot. Pretty sure these are probably around 7K resistance, whereas this is around 15. So when you do switch up to the middle and the neck position here, you do get a little bit of signal loss as well. Even with the pickups cranked up all the way and the magnets are basically touching the string, you can still really hear that there is some signal loss here just for the nature of single coil pickups. So if you have a very hot bridge pickup here, you might want to either lower it, or you might want to get some higher power middle and neck pickups on this guitar just to keep up with the bridge here. But otherwise, they all sound fantastic on their own. They're very versatile, and this is a very incredibly versatile guitar. I really just don't like the middle pickup here just because I pick right around here. And sometimes my pick would actually hit the middle pickup, and that's just like a complaint on any guitar with middle pickups in my opinion. And once again, the Evertune is a really great addition, and if you are buying this guitar from Sweetwater, they could do all of this from factory. Once again, no sponsor, no affiliation. One final thing about the guitar that I want to mention is that if you're setting up your guitar like this, which is like drop E and like basically an 8-string without the 2 high strings, it's not really the best for soloing and lead playing, in my opinion. Like, this just feels like a rhythm machine, and that's kind of what Andrew wants for this, so it's gonna work for him, in my opinion. It would work for me if I wanted to play a bunch of rhythms on this guitar, but if you are a lead player and you also want to have the extra low strings or the extra high strings, setting up your guitar like this might not be the best move for you, in my opinion. That's when you might want to have some different guitars or a fully extended range 8-string guitar where you have the full range of guitar and bass at your fingertips. But otherwise, if you're looking just to riff and you want to play those caveman riffs, you don't care about leads, this might be the way to go for you. And especially if you are trying to build it around a Fender guitar, you want to have that OG like Fender Strat vibe, put on that baritone neck and maybe block the trem if you don't want to put an Evertune on your guitar, and I think you're going to have a really sweet guitar. And now just saying that kind of makes me think that maybe I want to do that. So if you want to see that, let me know down below. But otherwise, this thing's sick, and yeah, I can't wait to see this with Andrew on stage later this year. And that's going to do for today's video. Let me know all thoughts and opinions down below on this insane monstrosity of a guitar. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I have tons more videos like this going over some crazy guitars that come in for setups, and as well as showing you how to set up and repair different guitars. And if you are a returning subscriber, make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that I upload. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.